Greetings, heathens and heretics, and welcome to another episode of In the Abyss. And a slightly poorly Bean, a probably sweaty Padre, and voice of reason and me. And 3/5 of the Metalbrew crew are with us a few weeks back before the festival, and they've come back to tell us all about the ups and the downs, the ins and outs, and everything in between, and maybe a few lost carrier bags full of cash. I don't know, but guys, welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah,
it's a pleasure to have you again. The last episode was a whole world of fun. So yeah, it's great to have you back. I mean, let's quickly cut to it. How was it? How was Metalbrew 2024?
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was literally, in a word, better than anyone could have hoped. Like,
amazing.
Wow. We didn't really big ourselves up, and we set ourselves up for a fool, but yeah, it was fucking wicked. It was
great. I have to say, like, following like the socials in the lead up to it, like after we did the episode, and then just kind of checking in and looking at all the stuff, just watching you hit these milestones and these kind of like we're nearly selling out, come on, let's have a last push for tickets. And I was just sat there like knowing I couldn't go to the festival, but just rooting for you all the same.
No, thank you. Yeah, I mean, we were still a fair way from selling out. Like, we've still got plenty of space within the parameters of how we set up Metalbrew this year. But still, we sold, I would say, well beyond our expectations. Yeah. We did like 100 tickets in the final week. Like,
that's good.
Which was really, really good. That kind of, really turned things around.
Congratulations.
Really, and it was wicked. And people were there like early on. There were crowds like from...
The weather was great.
It was wicked.
That helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You look at what's going on at Leeds at the yesterday, when fucking stages being closed down and tents disappearing and all that. It's always that hit and miss with the festival, isn't it?
What's going on?
Leeds Festival. We've had Hurricane, I don't know,
Lillian.
Lillian, that one.
I saw something about Creamfields, but like, if you name a festival a shit name like that, you deserve it. And secondly, if you have shit music like that, you deserve it. But like, I'm disappointed to hear about Leeds and Reading. I mean, like, the people at
don't, because Leeds and Reading now
is going to Leeds Festival.
Yeah, Leeds and Reading now is
even in good weather.
Dog shit.
Sorry,
it's hell on earth, even in good weather.
Yeah, true.
It's not what it used to be.
Alan, very strong people shouting out Alan. What, at Reading? At Leeds and Reading. Apparently that is still going strong. Do you remember
that's about 20 years old, isn't it? It was what was it when it was Timmy back in
and Scratcher.
The first time we went to Reading, me and Tregenza were trying to get people to shout out Mandela, as in Nelson Mandela, and they just weren't taking it.
that one hasn't caught on then. It didn't endure.
No, we tried.
We were only 18, so we got.
I had just turned 18. You were 6 months older than me.
I was the mature one. Yeah, all right. Anyway,
the Scottish people in your tent.
We're not going to talk about that on a podcast. No, we're not. I'll tell you about it, but not on here. Yeah, what were we saying? So yeah, decent turnout, which is great. Decent weather, all that. You had a great lineup anyway. So it's I'm assuming feedback's all good. Everyone was happy with it. No gripes, complaints, moans, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who was there had a great time. It was loud, and it's the first time we've done that venue outdoors, and so
we had on the local residents group people slagging it off.
Yes,
good.
Yeah.
You've arrived.
Job done.
But funnily enough, we had some people who were there who like started a thread saying, "What the fuck is that noise? What's going on?" And then ended up coming down and buying a ticket and coming in.
Nice.
Great. So what sort of things were the neighbours saying then? So what was some of the? I mean, obviously the noise, but like how did they express that?
How can they call this music?
Always a good one.
Yeah, classic.
Even if I liked metal, this would be shit.
Yeah.
Now that you need to get that on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Merch next year. That's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that would be a good one. But no, generally it was really fine. Like, it was loud, but I think because it was like, we went slightly over time, very slightly over time. Yeah. But other than that,
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the run up
We
then.
might as well get the complaints out the way. So yeah, because as soon as it hit 10:30, because we like sent out a bunch of little notices to the local residents saying, look, there's going to be a music festival. Music will be going to 10:30. Just so that it's as a courtesy. And soon, pretty much as it hit 10:30, Stuart started getting these messages through saying, he didn't know, he didn't answer the phone, but they first came from a number, and then they were a private withheld number, weren't they? Trying to get through, obviously, to complain. And then someone came over in the morning, didn't they, and had words.
Yeah. I mean that caused a bit of a issue because we told it was really, really close to some of the local neighbours. So
incredibly close.
Put a thing around with our contact details and said we're finished. Outdoor music finishes at 10:30, and because we had like a couple of sound issues, it was just and because it's like in a festival set, you can't really cut someone's 30-minute set. So we did overrun by 30 minutes?
Yeah, no longer than 11 o'clock. And that was when the license was 2 anyway. So we'd aimed for 10:30, but we had a half-hour leeway.
Yeah, because from my understanding, from what I've heard from other events, that curfew is pretty fucking strict. Like if you go over that, you sort of bang in trouble with it.
I had to pull the plug on our headliner one year because that's how strict it is.
Yeah.
Also, every event you put on, I swear there was always like police turning up at the start.
Every single year, and
no one seems to give a shit this year.
The first year, there were about 6 of us in a field, and about 15 coppers turned up. And, I was like, I don't know, guys, this feels like an overkill. I don't know what you're expecting, but there's 6 people stood in the rain, no bands playing at this moment in time.
Trying to put a gazebo up.
Yeah. Every year I did it. You're making me paranoid now. Every year I did it, the police were there.
Trouble seems to follow you. Then that's the kind of gist we're getting here.
Yeah, no, that is definitely true. That is a legacy of Sarah Carney. She just
that infamous crime family.
It was like no cash, basically. We did take a bit of cash, but everything was electronic, so Carney can lose it in a bag this time.
11 o'clock's a bit draconian, isn't it?
That's the standard, isn't it?
That is the standard.
Yeah, no, but like, what's wrong with like midnight? Or it's like I don't.
We were. If you look at it, you'll see like the stage was right next to like blocks of flats. Like it was. It's annoying. Like the whole other side is perfectly fine, but it's just right there.
Yeah, I mean, we were facing away from the flats, so we thought, but we've done what we can, sort of thing. But ultimately, where we are, we can't. And ultimately, the local council had said it was okay, so they might not.
It all sounds good to me. Like you did what you could. You gave everyone fair warning, and half hour over the top is reasonable. Just gives you a bit of leeway. But people always want to moan, don't they?
My issue with this, right, is you have to get permission to put on a music festival, but some people don't have. They don't have to get permission to have kids. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, really, in the grand scheme of things, what's more annoying? Someone's bastard cunting kids or a music festival that happens once a year.
Right.
I got kids. Right. I got kids outside my window. I got kids outside my window now screaming. I can't do anything because they're Palestinian.
Yeah, I mean, normally I'd be confused with the analogy, but I suppose Metalbrew is a bit like our baby. So,
but also, funnily enough, we had loads of kids at Metalbrew.
Yeah, we did.
There was loads of kids.
Yeah, and I bet they were better behaved than a lot of other kids.
Yeah, it was basically the age range like 0 to 10, and then 30 to.
That's just a sign of our age. Basically, all of our friends have kids. That's why they're all there.
I thought you was about to say that's a sign of our age. They weren't kids; they were 30.
We're not that old, just yet.
Did you allow small kids in for free? Did you do anything like that?
We did. I mean,
yeah, small.
We've got so many friends who've got small kids now.
Yeah,
we're not going to charge them.
Yeah, we want them to be there. We don't, and I mean, so we want them to have the means to come without having to worry about the cost. And
it was free for young kids, and then under 16 was half price.
Yeah,
so
I think it's becoming more of a thing. Like Arctangent was one we were talking about earlier on. That them and 2000 Trees obviously is run by the same guy in it, but they do quite a lot for kids, don't they? Those two festivals, and they make it quite family friendly.
trees do way more than ATG, but
Yeah.
you know, there are people, I mean, I can't stand the forums because as soon as the festival's over, people just get home and start complaining.
Yeah.
But even while the festival was on, there was a lady moaning that her children couldn't sleep because it was too loud. Don't bring them to a fucking festival then.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, seriously.
you know, like that's the kind of thing that, you know, I mean, my friends brought their children this year and they were absolutely lovely. We had a great time with them. They went to bed, you know, at a reasonable hour. And, you know, obviously their parents expected there to be some noise. They're at a music festival in a tent. So,
and like Padre said, it's one day.
If you had like maybe some kind of like bedtime story service, but like, you know, let's say, you know, you're at Download Festival or Bloodstock, which band would you like your kids to be read to sleep by? You just
Alice
imagine
Cooper.
it, like you go like, oh, you know, we're gonna go for a drink, we're gonna go for a drink, we need someone to read the kids the bedtime story, someone get Ishan on the phone, you know, or fucking Glenn Benton. That would be quite good, wouldn't it?
Glenn Benton story time.
Again.
Yeah. I mean, my personal choice would be, I think, because he's going to tell a good story and he's got a very dulcet tone to his voice, would be Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah, it would go on too long though. Mind you, your kids would certainly fall asleep.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, it's like Bruce. They don't need to know about the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, mate. They just Postman Pat will do. Yeah.
Do you think any of that will cause any problems next year? Complaints? Do you think it'll go far enough to make any issues?
I don't think so. I think the learning is probably tell the neighbours you're going to finish later than you planned.
Yeah. The thing is, because there was a guy who came over on Sunday morning.
I don't know. I didn't know that you said.
Yeah. There was a guy who came over on Sunday morning and was doing a bit of a moan. But the guy who does Hendon Rugby Club, who had agreed to put it on and is big supporters of it, he explained the context and he said what a huge impact it had made for the rugby club in terms of how much money it had made and that sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
So he's like, look, you like the rugby club, you like what it provides for, you know, Hendon as a community. This is one day out of your year, and we've made so much money from this one event because they basically take all the money from that goes behind the bar. That, you know, if you want us to continue to be sustainable as a rugby club, then you've got to allow this sort of thing to happen. And the guy was kind of reflective on that, and he was like, "Yeah, well, fair enough." So
that's cool. That's really good.
I think that's great. And in a similar way, I think just to go back to what you're talking about, having like the young kids in there, you know, if there's any way to integrate yourself into or to be accepted, I suppose, by the community, it's to do these things. It's like, yeah, you're getting, you know, the rugby club involved, you're letting the kids in, you know, the community. It's a welcome event, you know, and I think that's crucial.
Yeah. And like in terms of us actually being there, we caused absolutely no trouble. We stayed within our fenced area.
This is the thing. People complaining doesn't mean your event won't get to go ahead next year, right?
Yeah.
People are always going to complain. The types of complaints that would stop your event going ahead is that drunk people caused criminal damage to somebody's house on the way home, or, you know, antisocial behaviour. You know, our crowd aren't like that. The minute it was finished, everyone left and behaved themselves. So, you know, for an event our size, it's more of a notification as opposed to an application.
Yeah.
You're informing them of the event. Now, if you're like,
and it's not technically a license, it is just
it's a notice, right? It's
your notice.
Yeah. But obviously for the much bigger festivals, it's a completely different story. You know, to get your license for that many people, you have to provide risk assessments and compliance, etc. So yeah, we should be fine next year.
So even though it's not technically a license, then can they still stop you putting on the event if they want to? If there's been enough complaints or reasons not to let you,
it has to go to the local council and the local police and
But it's
to deal with like noise pollution. So there's 3 chances that they could say no, you can't do it.
Right.
But you have to have a very strong case. And like Carney's saying, like someone saying you went 30 minutes beyond, you said it's not a strong case.
They have to have a reason. So it goes to 3 different authorities, but they have to have a genuine reason not to approve it. Otherwise, they just have to approve it. That, you know, they can't refuse it based on the fact they don't want us to have a festival.
But the reason people were a bit tetchy was because in one of the other fields a bit further down, they had it the past couple of years, they've had 51st State, which is like a electronic music festival.
Yeah.
It's like a 10,000 capacity, and it's only a few fields down from where ours is. And so the first person that complained to us when we literally posted it for his letterbox, and like hours later he had sent us an email saying complaining, is because he was talking about that festival. And
well, this is and
it was all like laughing gas canisters left everywhere. All the problems you're gonna get with like 10,000 people going to a festival.
Yeah,
we aren't going to cause, because we're like 300 people with it's different.
And dance music travels as well, don't it? I mean, a couple of years ago we had Creamfields here at Highlands Park, and it's about 1.5 miles from my house, and I could hear it quite clearly. It was so it's that will travel, whereas I suppose metal, it doesn't, because it's not such a thud, is there? So it doesn't travel so much. But look,
take your point. You say that, but then there was a guy that turned up and ended up spending the night in the rugby club who probably heard us from about, he says 3 miles. I think maybe he's exaggerating.
That might be a bit of an exaggeration, yeah.
Yeah, but
like, he was a bit of a fuckhead.
Yeah, he was. I don't know. I don't know. This is a massive tangent. I apologize, but yeah, the night was basically over, and he turned up in this back room, one that I was sleeping in, and I assumed he was some guy from the festival, and he just fell asleep on the sofa next to me. Woke up in the morning, and he said that he'd where was he going to? Woking or something? I don't know, but he wasn't living in London. He'd come down here. I think he'd been in the army or something. He was probably late 20s, and he'd come down to visit someone's gravestone or something and like toast them. And he was absolutely wasted. And he'd got in a cab or something. He didn't have enough money to get home.
He walked to us.
Yeah. And then he basically walked from like miles. He just heard this loud sound in the distance. He's like, I'm gonna go see what that is. Turned up, and at this point we stopped in things or whatever. So he just walked in, and then it was like the after party stuff, and then at some point fell asleep on the sofa, and then he helped us clear up in the morning.
He was fucking up 3 hours in the morning, taking fencing down, he was banging. He was amazing. He was amazing, but it was he just heard us in the distance. He was like, I'm going to check that out, and he agreed. We're all a lovely bunch of people. Yeah, again, kind of reading the comments online, I think it did travel. But honestly, the majority of them, it was accepting of the fact that it's just a one-off event.
Well, you're just up the road from Wembley, for goodness sake. They should be used to loud noises every other night.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're focusing far too much on the complaints.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Complaints aside, I mean, it sounds to me like the festival is still standing. None of this is gonna shake things.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the day.
Right?
Flip it. What feedback have you got? What positive feedback have you got? That would be nice to hear.
Yeah, loads. Like everyone who was there really enjoyed it. Every band who played really loved it. Out of all the bands who played, there was the majority hadn't been before, or hadn't played before, didn't really know anything about it. So it was kind of like a new, fresh start for Metalbrew. So obviously we had some like throwbacks. Leafhound, who headlined, had played before, and loved it. It's really funny. Like Pete French is the singer of Leafhound. His what's his son called? Anyway.
Dominic.
Yeah, Dominic, who's
on
drums. He came down to the first time Leafhound played, which was 2006. But he was like, I was a kid back then.
That's cool.
Wow.
That's really cool. There's a legacy going on. That's really cool.
Yeah, but I haven't heard a negative thing.
No, Leafhound were absolutely glowing. They have played a handful of times, and I think they know that we really appreciate them as a band, and not just that, but that the metal crowd is always going to be really, really appreciative. And out of all the bands that played, they were the one that most consistently people were like, shit, they were really, really good.
Yeah.
They pulled out a great set. They performed really, really well.
And it's like the only band that actually gets full darkness.
So yes, that's true.
The lighting was really, really, really fucking cool. And shout out to like Ollie who did our lighting. He did 2016, whichever one of the ones that Sarah put on, 2015 or 16, he did the lighting with that crew, and he loved it so much he basically offered to come down and just do it for free. So he was there at like 7 in the morning on Saturday with all of his gear.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, again, luckily we made enough money that we could pay him, which was such a nice thing to be able to do.
So you mentioned there 7 a.m. Saturday morning for the setup of the lighting. How much of the setup is done in advance? Like, is Saturday morning kind of all hands on deck, or is it all done and everything's quite
Friday.
chilled and you're just kind of waiting for it to kick off?
So like the staging was meant to be set up on Saturday, but luckily
I mean, Stuart told me that the plan was to set the stage up on Friday, and I was like, "You are crazy."
Only because they wanted to charge me full day rates for everyone who was there.
Yeah.
So they charged me like $1,000 for it to be set up a day early, and that was too much.
It all worked out. It was set up on the Friday.
Yeah, they came out, so the stage was set up on the Friday. We had all the fencing set up. We were basically good to go from the Friday, and so Saturday was purely about sound equipment,
backline, lighting.
So yeah, all like the proper tech stuff. We have professionals doing, but we set up the fencing ourselves. We set up all like the gazebo and the backstage ourselves. There's not other people doing that. It's literally us.
If anyone turns up early to Metalbrew, they're
helping
a high vis jacket and told their crew.
You could make it a feature of the ticket, couldn't you? It's like,
for a lot of them,
the Metalbrew experience.
Charge extra. I'm sure some people would definitely pay for that privilege.
People 100%. People would just love to be involved in something like that, because it's like, oh, you get to see what goes on in the background, don't you? This, I think all of us would be secretly interested in that.
Yeah, that is definitely the biggest thing that I've felt this year, is how many people have just said, I want to be involved, I want to help out. Like, next year, let me know anything, like build or help on the website or help. So many people who just want to get involved now.
That's great, and it just shows how important this festival is to people. To want to pitch in and just keep it going, keep the momentum going. Kudos to you guys for creating that, because that's pretty special.
Yeah, and coming back to the positive comments and stuff that we've had, we had a real, we had a good bunch of new people who hadn't come before, who very, very clearly had a good time. But then we also had what we might also consider our old regulars, people that we basically don't see until we put Metalbrew on. And there were so many old yet familiar faces, and they were so excited about the day. And it doesn't matter whether you were talking about the bands that were playing that day or whether they just wanted to get nostalgic about. Like, I was speaking to a guy who was, I think, mid-60s, and he was talking about how much he loved the fact that Metalbrew was so sort of grassroots, and he was talking about all the bands that he'd seen, like 40 odd years ago when everything was first started. I can't remember who he was talking about. He was definitely talking about seeing like Iron Maiden, back at the Garden Horses or whatever it's called. And just sort of thinking about how there's still this underground or grassroots scene to be a part of. And he was really waxing lyrical about Metalbrew. It was lovely to see that wherever you went, people were just like really, really positive about it. And I said, there was so many people who I basically don't see unless it's Metalbrew, and it's like, oh my God, you've come back. And they're like, yeah, they wouldn't miss this for, in a heartbeat. Similarly, I went to Bloodstock, and I can't remember who it was I saw. It might have been Tail Gunner. It was someone. But I just turned around, and this person said to me, excuse me, did you put on Metalbrew? I was like, yeah. It's like, it was my first time this year. My friend told me about it, and we came up with, like, me, the person she was with, we came up from Portsmouth. We had a great day. I was like, well, we're probably coming back next year. It's like, oh, that's amazing. We'll definitely be there. So it's like, if they start telling people about their experience, there's a real opportunity for the momentum to keep going. It could be really special next year.
I definitely agree.
That's so cool.
But it is really cool, especially when you're going backwards and you've got a bit of a forward as well, haven't you? It's like there's potentially a future here. You've got, I know you all seem like you're kind of really still on a high about the whole thing, and that's got to be great going forward, thinking about next year, and which we'll talk about in a little bit. But
honestly, we only really first started speaking about Metalbrew again to plan for this podcast. We've I have at least given myself a month off. Just not thinking about it. Carly's not. She's thinking about it.
I got up on the Sunday and started writing bands lists, and I was on it, but I knew Stuart probably wasn't there yet, so I've been very good.
We're all definitely on the same wavelength that it's back next year without fail.
Yeah, and we had like a really good meeting this week, didn't we? Just talking about what next year would look like, and it's already feeling exciting. So
wow.
Yeah.
So let's pause on next year. We'll get to that. Let's remind us who played. For anyone listening, who opened the festival? What was the first act on?
So the first band was a band called Silver Cane, who were proper Mill Hill, North London local boys. I mean, that had one show before they played Metalbrew.
I think they've played a few shows.
A couple
before that,
yeah.
They've got one song that they've recorded.
Yeah, on
I
Spotify.
think they've played a few shows.
Right. So they were pretty much unknowns to us, weren't they?
We didn't know about it. It was just
recommended by Mill Hill Music
by the local, like the rehearsal studios in Mill Hill, where all our mates' bands used to play, and that was a big part of like early Metalbrew.
Yeah,
them to recommend a band to play as the first band on.
Yeah, and like during the communications before Metalbrew started, I probably shouldn't be saying this, I don't really care. Like, a lot of their chat and expectation, they sounded like they, quite big egos. They're, talking about like what they wanted in terms of guest lists and that sort of thing.
About ego, I'd say maybe naivety.
Well, this is the thing, new band, you think you're, that you're on the road to something, and maybe you do have maybe it's naivety, maybe it's egos, however you want to phrase it. But when they turned up on the day, they were wonderful. They were really, they're a new band, they're young, but they were just very happy to be there, really good natured, really positive, and loads of people were really, really positive about their set. It'll be really interesting to see how they expand from here, like how they manage to bring themselves into the metal scene. But that people basically listened to with no expectations and were pretty impressed, I'd say, on the whole.
And they were a local band. They had a crowd that came down early. So
in terms of sound, I guess there's somewhere in a kind of 90s sound. There's something vaguely grungy about it, maybe sort of Black Album era, Metallica type stuff. Quite riff heavy, but it was really, really cool. They go down very well for a first band.
Who else is on the lineup?
So after that, we had Schnobbelizer.
That's a great name for a band.
It's strong, isn't it? They probably perform and sound exactly like you'd imagine if you're imagining a relentless full thrash.
I was going to say, gotta be thrash, wouldn't they?
And their attitude was just so good. They were so happy to be at Metalbrew, and playing. Like, I asked all the bands like if they needed a rider, if they needed any money for travel and whatever else, and they were just like, look, literally the response was, we know you're doing this for the love of metal, we don't want anything. They're very
you can't beat that.
They're very cool.
They're really, really cool people.
We did give them some money, dude. Let that be clear.
All bands got paid. But our friend Steve Lofton, who used to be the drummer in Seven Sisters back in the day, and he's been in a fair few other bands as well. He's bassist for them, so that was kind of like our in with them, and they're pretty new, but in terms of that sort of old school, slightly crossover, but definite thrash. They put on a pretty fearsome set.
It set the metal from early. That's like what, 2:30 in the afternoon.
So
nice.
So after that it was Lust Ritual.
They're fucking cool. I've recently clocked onto them, and
they just played last night.
Really cool.
See them.
They played last night with Paris, who were also on the Metalbrew lineup. I'm not saying that we brought them together, but
no, we didn't.
We didn't.
I know you keep going down the avenue, but because of Paris, they said to Lust Ritual to speak to us.
Well, I'm just making connections.
It's a fantasy that we've created.
We're building up the London scene one step at a time. But I heard the EP, really, really liked the EP. And then live, they totally brought it.
But they'd been told to reach out to us. That's how we heard of them. And I'm so glad they were awesome. They were so good.
They're
really, cool. Really positive feedback from the crowd as well. They're just something a little bit different within that sort of heavy doom type sound. They put on a really good show. The vocalist Yava, she's a real character as well.
She's got a great voice as well. That's what stood out for me. Just her vocals are so strong. Very
and
cool,
as with all the bands, they were just so awesome. Like everyone was so easy to get on with. Like, it was just great vibes. But
it helps, doesn't it? It helps because the last thing you need to deal with on top of everything else that's going on is just, you know, a bunch of assholes or someone that comes in making demands, or it's just difficult or late or whatever it might be. But it sounds like everyone just kind of rolls with the spirit of Metalbrew.
Something was shining on us. Like, everything went well. Like, we didn't really plan for a budget or for anything, but it just kind of worked out. Like, if it, like on my spreadsheet, we come out at like £100 plus. It's like, it's basically bang on the money. And it's like, how did we, like, we didn't do that on purpose. We didn't work out how much stuff was going to cost and then work out ticket price. Someone was shining on it. Everything was perfect and it was great.
Last Ritual were great as well. And like, we had the two sort of like back rooms for the bands, and they were in a separate room to Under the Ashes. But I think Under the Ashes and Last Ritual also knew each other as well as Parish, like, because they are all part of the same London metal scene, and they were all both hanging around with each other at the back, but also coming out and seeing all the bands together. So the bands are watching the other bands, and that's really nice.
That's important.
Right. And I'm assuming by this time in the day, like early afternoon, you've got a full house. You know, the place is busy. It's everyone's there. They all turned up. They're involved.
Yeah, I mean, like, before the first band was on, we were probably approaching. I mean, I might be inflating a bit, but approaching 100. By the end of the day, we were around 350 all told, right, including back people, you know, the bands and guest lists and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, and we obviously we got all the fencing, and it was a huge field that we were in, so we had the fencing area off, and it was like that. How much you don't want to leave loads of space, so it feels like everyone can just spread out and there's not a crowd, but you don't want to just like box everyone in as well. But I think we got it about.
Yeah, we
got like some gazebos and some like stuff at the back so people could sit, but yeah, there wasn't loads of space there, so you know.
There is a sweet spot, isn't it? It's like it's those times when when you go to a birthday party in the village hall and there's just not enough people to fill it, and it always feels a little bit awkward. Or the old school discos back in the day, and it was all a little bit like not quite enough people to fill the room. So if you get that bang on, it all helps to create the right atmosphere, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was bang on this year. Really good.
The next two bands were the ones that I would say we're closest to in terms of our friendship groups, which is Cosmoths and then Firestorm / Rocking Boys. Do you want to give a little bit of a review of that, Stuart? Can you remember Cosmoths?
Can you remember?
I do remember Cosmoths. Cosmoths are as Kat said, a mates band, but they're just really, really fucking cool. Like, it's hard to pinpoint their sound. But for me, it really kind of like came together when Eric, our mate, joined them as a vocalist. So before that, they kind of had split vocal duties between the guitarist and bassist. And Eric joined them on vocals, and it's just kind of taking it to a new level. It's psychedelic.
Yeah, it's a real weird mix. There's definite like sort of grunge and stoner in there, but then there's also much more sort of classic 70s style, both
proggy, psychedelic.
Yeah,
super cool. Super cool.
And
I've heard a lot of people say that was their favorite band of the day was Cosmos.
Yeah, and they don't have a particularly notable profile. I mean, the EP they've done, they
don't want to tell people about it.
Yeah,
they're not happy with the recording quality. So
yeah, but if they keep it going, based on the reception to them that day, I think it'd be really, they really have the potential to do something, and they are. Although they definitely do fit very well in all the bands that are doing the sort of like psych blues, heavy stoner doom stuff.
Yeah,
enough to have their own sound and take as well. They could definitely make a mark. And then Firestorm Rocking Boys.
Yeah. So Firestorm is the throwback to early Metalbrew, and that's our mates band. Like early Metalbrews basically revolved around three mates bands: Firestorm, Devilfish, and Cordless. Yeah, Devilfish have played a few times since. Cordless will never really play again because they literally live in all parts of the world now. And so for this one, I was like, we have to get some kind of Firestorm union. So they got together.
They've not played for probably 15 years.
15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this was like a Metalbrew exclusive in terms of
literally a Metalbrew exclusive. And it probably only meant something to like.
We relived our early teenagers.
I don't even knew who they were.
What's wrong with that?
For that 10%, it was everything.
Yeah. Yeah,
And then
and how much I love those songs. You know, they started playing those classic Firestorm songs. I was like, these are ridiculous, but they're also brilliant. Like Johnny Kushner, in some respects, could be considered like the mastermind behind the band. He's just like the biggest Iron Maiden fan, and
he's just caused a really big rift there. Anyone could be the mastermind behind
could be, but yeah, like they were always like in many ways very cheesy, but also it was glorious. And then that evolved into Rocking Boys on the Day.
Yeah, and Rocking Boys are just
Firestorm.
A lot of the guys from Firestorm, it's basically just a covers band.
But a really good one.
A really, really good covers band. They play the stuff that you want to hear and with the energy that you want to experience it with. And so we kind of slotted that in the middle of the day. Basically, between those two, they had the longest out of it.
What covers did they play?
They did Iron Maiden.
Yeah, by Iron Maiden.
Priest.
Yeah, Rocky.
They did the Priest, and they did the big thing. So in the middle, like my dad was a really big supporter of Metalbrew, like probably the world's biggest supporter of Metalbrew, but he passed away a couple of years ago. So bringing it back was a really big kind of tribute to my dad, and so
that's really cool.
Songs that were he's a big Purple fan, so they played loads of Deep Purple. They played Freebird, really cheesy classic rock. And
exactly the sort of things you want, and people are starting to get a bit sort of lubed up by that.
I was going to say it's a perfect point in the afternoon to drop that sort of thing in.
It was really cool.
Yeah, it was a powerful moment, and you know the Freebird execution, considering what that solo is like at the end of that song, was just brilliantly done. And my brother, who turned up probably out of politeness more than anything else.
Well, the thing is with Freebird, the solo's still going on.
They're still playing it now.
Just left him in the field.
But yeah, my brother was like, Freebird was his highlight of the day. And
funnily enough, when I speak to the band, they're like, that was the song they played the worst.
Really? It's funny. Yeah, no, but it was really, really good. Like Stuart said, it was all the classics, AC/DC, bit of Motorhead. It was a riotous good time. Really,
they were my band of the day by a long way.
Ah, wow. I was going to ask you all to kind of pick a highlight, but maybe we'll leave that till the end once we've gone through the rest of the what else went on.
Now we're into the evening session. This is how I planned it. Finish that up, and now it's starting to get a bit dusky. Everyone's definitely a bit pissed. And now we're into the evening.
Yeah, session. So now we get now the band
who's next?
Much more full on. So Under the Ashes, who were like awesome. That I heard a lot of people say that I heard some people say that about Cosmos being the band today, but a lot of people are also saying Under the Ashes. They're a relatively new London band.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we put them on,
really,
well, by the time we booked them, really, we hadn't seen them.
No, they played Desert Fest.
They got a couple of recordings.
2 songs recorded, but they were ferocious and really, very, very tight. It's Alistair, who's also in Flame Bearer. Luke, who was in Dungeon. I'm not sure where the other guys come from, and it's definitely some bolt throw in there. It's slightly more death than thrash, but it's within that sort of space.
Thrash. It's definitely thrashy.
There's some craft punk in there too.
They put literally on the next day, on the Sunday, on a Monday, they've got like a multi-angled recording of their show. So that's look that up.
It's well worth watching.
Under the Ashes.
So as they filmed it at Metalbrew, and now that's out there on YouTube, I guess. Or
it was really cool.
Yeah, and the productions on it's pretty good as well. We were talking about this, considering all we saw was they had one sort of camera stand right in front of the stage, but obviously they had more than one. But it's something that next year we should be able to do for a lot of the bands, and then that'd be a nice addition if we get to sort of promote how it's gone, and so people can actually see the quality of the bands that we're playing.
Yeah. Do you do a lot to document the day? Like, do you have photographers? Do you have cameras, anything at all that just amongst yourselves?
We definitely will, and we spoke about it a lot this year, but it just felt.
We did in 2015, didn't we? There was 2015. We did a really good job of that, but not since.
Yeah. Was that the Brazilian guy, Sarah, that was the video?
Well, yeah, we had lots of people.
Do you want to tell them what you did? Or
No,
there's a story. I want to hear the story. I can see that it's
right.
under
I'm
there.
not going to embarrass Sarah. I'll tell you off camera.
You already have.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. These I love this. This just these kind of these tales that Metalbrew is built on, I think are fantastic. But
well,
maybe
Sarah,
some are more suitable.
There's a book in
others.
this somewhere.
Although Sarah comes across as charming, she's an absolute terrible fucking wreckhead. So when we're on camera, I'll tell you just well, she can tell you herself, and if she won't, then I will tell her. I'll embarrass her at that point. But I'm not immortalizing it on tape.
Right.
So,
watch this space. The Brazilian.
Yeah. So next was Parish.
Yeah, we're on the camera.
Yeah, sorry. So next was Parish. In Parish again.
Very bland.
Yeah,
it was great.
Yeah.
Very cool band.
Again, who played yesterday?
Yes, they were on the last
show yesterday. I wasn't fucking there.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. Like, I was either too drunk or I was too busy running around seeing other things. Like, I really wanted to see Parish. This is one of.
What are you going to say then?
No, I'm going to say, like, Parish is a band I've never seen live before, and I was really keen on seeing them at Metalbrew, but I'm not sure what were the circumstances. But from personal experience, I didn't get to see them, so I can't say what they were like. I
did see Parish. Shut up.
Oh, just saying that.
I don't want a domestic.
Yeah,
I want a domestic. Come on.
Really.
There's been too much positivity on this podcast. Let's have a fight.
Oh, bless. Look at them.
Yeah. Oh, cuddles. There are cuddles.
They didn't really see him, but no, I did see Parish, and that's the first time I've actually seen them live. I think that's the first time I've seen them live. But they were really cool. Like, yeah.
So is that again another challenge of running a festival on the day? Do you see everything you want to see? Like, you've booked all these bands, you've had a great relationship with them, just kind of getting them all together and getting everyone there. And then do you see them all, or is it a case of you catch bits and pieces and maybe not as much as you'd like to?
There isn't really an excuse for Chris missing a band, given the size of our festival, right?
So basically, when we're planning roles for the day, Chris doesn't get any.
He doesn't have one.
Chris doesn't get a job on the day.
He's he's chief band watcher.
We dish out, and he failed at that.
I mean, me and Chris will get up and announce the bands. That is generally the rule, and whoever's around will manage to do it.
Just before Parish played, it all started to go downhill for Chris. He was launching his shoes from the stage into the people in the crowd, right? So it's not that surprising that he then missed Parish.
I'll say this year I did manage to keep pretty much all my clothes on.
Yeah, because Sarah walked you these homes. There's lots of young children.
Yeah, this is the problem with having loads of children at your festival. I like, honestly, I was like, Chris, you just cannot get naked.
You've got to keep your clothes on.
You have to, because it's indecent exposure at the best of times. But like if there's loads of kids in the field, it's definitely indecent exposure. So
that I've grown as an individual because I was keep myself reasonably attired.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
It was great.
But coming back to your point, I do genuinely feel like, all right, maybe I'm not given any specific responsibility, but I am quite mindful of, like I said, there's a lot of people in the crowd that I don't see unless it's Metalbrew. So I'm often running around, even if it's just a quick check-in with people. Yeah, almost. Yeah, like the Metalbrew mascot. And then also, like, if there's anything that's going on with the bands, they need help. I mean, we're all doing it, but like sometimes it catches you at a moment, and then it just happens by chance that it's a band you obviously want to see all the bands.
Sometimes,
we all had radios, but it was so loud you couldn't ever hear the radio. So someone would be radioing through time and time again, and you just end up
pointless
screaming your name from some.
Well, I don't know. Parish are really, really good, and I'm definitely going to Obviously, yesterday I didn't make it, but I'm going to make a concerted effort to see them next time that they're on a stage.
They have that. Paris is one of those bands. They've got that retro thing. Just nailed. They're very, very cool. Very good at what.
It is pure power. They're so good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, you're right. And they hit that retro thing, but they also, I don't know, like so many of the retro bands are typically Swedish, and like they do hit a lot of like the I don't know, Cream or Zeppelin. I hear like Wishbone Ash in Paris in a way that I don't hear with those other bands. Like they've kind of made a unique space for themselves, I feel, and so I would really, really like to see that executed on stage. And I'm sorry that I didn't pay enough attention.
At Metalbrew, or when they played just literally up the road.
All right. Heavy Sentence. Well, I think my band of the day. They were fucking brilliant.
They were epic.
Another very cool band.
Yeah, like that sort of like classic new album sound with the really, really raw, gruff vocal. And I was listening to them quite a bit before Metalbrew happened, and the energy was really, really good. And
the crowd was there.
It was that was
very pissed, moment. And it was getting dark, and the crowd was.
I was hammered. They're great, like being hammered music. So I fucking loved it. It was really, really good. They do what they do really, really well, and it was really nice to see them execute that live as well. It was fucking wicked.
I agree.
Yeah,
I had an extremely good time.
Yeah. Other people like to. I mean, generally speaking, the bands that I felt like got the biggest accolades were Lust Ritual, Cosmos to some extent, Under the Ashes, and like Parish also seemed to get a lot of like big comments as well.
I think a lot of people there didn't know who Parish were, and were just like amazed by it. It's quite palatable. You know what I mean? A lot of metal to someone who doesn't necessarily know that type of metal it can be unpalatable.
Yeah, I think
you can't deny that Parish is just good.
Yeah, like they've got enough sort of crossover appeal that doesn't matter what sort of metal you like, you'll like Parish basically, because they've got that classic sound. And then it was Leaf Hound, and it was, I think, all we could hope for.
Yeah, they're an amazing band.
Yeah, it's still like it's absolutely wild. It's almost 20 years since the first time they played, and they still perform phenomenally well.
And he ventured in his 70s now.
Yeah,
and still his voice is so good.
Yeah, his voice is perfect.
He's 70s.
Yeah,
he's 70s.
Leaf Hound's first album came out in 1971.
Yeah,
Jesus, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Not only that, they've got a new album coming out this year.
Wow,
towards the end of the year, and I can't remember what it's called. Something Bites Back or something. But they played at least one song off it, and and they went down almost as well as everything else that they played. You know, obviously people aren't as familiar with it, but it's that classic Leaf Hound sound. You know, they're still doing that early proto metal bluesy hard rock sound.
That really heavy guitar riffy, proper proto metal. That describes them.
It's a good time for them, to be fair, because that kind of metal he's on a bit of a it's on a bit of a high at the minute, off the back of Doom and whatnot. Anything like that, you've got a pretty good chance.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to I had an idea. So what you were saying about, you miss things at the festival, things like that. What about, if there was a festival at the end of festival season, just for festival organizers, where you could take your clothes off and get drunk and do stupid shit? That would be a good idea. It was almost like a staff party, and all the little independent metal festivals, they get to go, they get special treatment and stuff, and you can just do mad shit. And
if you're putting one on, I'm there.
I'm pretty sure
that would be quite good, I think, because you deserve it. You put a lot of work in.
Yeah, a lot of smaller festivals, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they should just give you backstage. They should just give you free backstage VIP passes to Bloodstock and stuff.
Nah, you want
that? Not going to complain. If they want to do that, I'm totally down.
Is that whose internet is fucked? Is that ours?
Yeah, it's he's in Saudi, and even though everyone's a billionaire, the internet's shit. So I've lost my train of thought now. So
that was the overview.
Because it goes through the ministry. It goes through the ministry of purity.
No,
We lost you, Padre. We lost you.
this is what editing's for. So yeah, Lee found are done. You have an after party as well, don't you?
I said,
I assume you do that in the rugby club, do you?
I mean, the after party was basically just
It's unofficial, but it
Yes.
does happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
so I mean,
just keep
because
drinking, basically.
because so many of the people that are involved, including the people that play, are people that we know. You know, there was probably what 30 people thereabouts, maybe a little bit more.
Maybe a bit more.
There was more and slowly dwindled.
Yeah. So yeah, we're
in the arse under nowhere, so a lot of people have to get trains.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, we were staying on site, weren't we? So that made it easy enough.
We were staying on site. All the guys who had like the important stuff, like the stage went down that night. The majority of the important stuff kind of happened, and so we could just rest.
I mean, in principle, you know, people, as long as they're behaving themselves, are welcome to continue drinking and having a good time, etc. But
just don't call it an after party. It's a debrief.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like maybe we should do like metal karaoke, or we did look into getting like a tribute
proper
band
DJ
or something, but a DJ or a tribute band. And I think next year, maybe we will.
Yeah, well, it's something to sort of like work on, but it was relatively understated for an after party, but it was still nice. It was nice to wind down after what had been a very successful but very hectic day.
Amazing. And so you just mentioned next year. So, and then Sarah, you said Sunday you woke up and just began sketching down ideas and different lineups and who you'd like to get. So let's move on. What's happening next year? What are the dreams? What are the aspirations? What are the new ideas?
Well, we did have a little discussion. Well, I don't know if we're on the same page. I don't think we should name anyone yet because we haven't booked anyone yet.
Yeah, we were like, can we say any names that we're thinking about? Don't say anything.
So have a bit of mystery.
It might be a bit bold to.
I think when it comes to headliners, we definitely shouldn't say anything because that we've got lots of ideas in mind, but
we've sent some emails.
Yes, we've already put the feelers out there, and if the one that you sent the other day, if that comes through, I think that's really, really fucking exciting. It's just it's a perfect encapsulation of what Metalbrew is all about. But we'll see. There's a couple of different ideas, but we probably shouldn't say anything because we definitely don't. When it comes to a headliner, I don't think we want to put posts out there that then turn to nothing.
But also, we're not.
Yeah, I think that's why
it's really in agreement of what that band should be.
That's also true.
We're in a nice place.
Yeah,
we feel happy and confident that next year is definitely happening.
Yeah,
and
like 11 months in advance thinking about it.
And we've got alternatives, haven't we? Yeah. So if some band isn't free or whatever, we can't make that happen. We definitely have other bands where we're like they'll be our go-to.
Great. You got to remember, like 2024 Metalbrew was done in a window of what 6 months.
Yeah,
if
we started speaking to bands.
Yeah. So, we didn't have the same degree of time and therefore, the possibility of getting bands
and
like
also we had a lot of bands who just couldn't make it because by the time we'd spoken to them, they would already be
noticed.
Yeah. So we've got a list of bands who would be so willing to play already,
That being said, I mean, I'm happy to talk about bands that personally I would like to at least consider lower down the bill, because I think one is important to sort of like put out the sort of things that are in my head, but also the fact that it's an opportunity to big up what are kind of like underground bands that really do deserve that like hyper representation.
I think that it comes across that is something that's really important to you as a festival. A lot of firsts, a lot of new bands, a lot of bands that people aren't necessarily talking about. And, you've said it so many times about the feedback that people have gone away saying that's their favorite band of the day, or they'd never heard them before. Like, it sounds like a lot of people are going to be saying, I was there when they played Metalbrew, we saw them first. And I think that's a great thing. I think, that is something to be championed.
Yeah. And yeah, I think
let me just before we go and call back to Enter Shikari.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you mentioned that on the last episode.
Yeah, and there are like some bands that I was kind of thinking about, and I can't remember who I was thinking specifically, but well, actually, so for example, one of the bands I was talking about possibly this year, and then thinking, oh, maybe we can get to 2025 was like Tail Gunner. But I think realistically speaking, by the time we're doing Metalbrew 2025, they're probably going to be kind of beyond us on a certain. Did they? See, I'm out the loop on that. So I mean, like, but they definitely would fit everything we're about in so many different ways. You know, doing that like excellent classic sound. But I don't know. I get the impression that they might be a band that have maybe not, but you know, potentially they might have moved past the crowd of 350 people on a good day that we might be offering them. So I don't know. They were definitely one band I was thinking about. Like basically, me and Jack. It's a shame Jack's not here. It would have been good to get his input on some of this stuff. But him and I were the ones that went to Bloodstock, and obviously we go to Bloodstock just to have a really good time, to get absolutely smashed and enjoy the bands. But there's also this opportunity to sort of like scope out in my head like potential Metalbrew bands as well.
Yeah.
Another band that were on my sort of like possibility list that I think are, again, going to be beyond us next year is Grove Street, who I listened to. Grove Street, yeah, like that sort of like crossover sound is something that we didn't like. Oh, granted, we had Shinobilizer, but it's not something that we covered this year. And I think if we could get something in that vein next year, that'd be really, really cool. But I think they might be another band that potentially would have outgrown us. The momentum really seems to be building there.
But I think so. But I think they're a little bit of a niche, I suppose, aren't they? I mean, they're like bands like Inhuman Nature and things like that. That again, that sound is quite popular, and there's quite a few crossover bands around at the minute, and most of it's fucking great. I love it all. It's just I love that blend, but I wouldn't say they're beyond. I think they'd be a great shout.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Like what we're doing is like purely speculation. I don't know. Like in Human Nature, we've had before, haven't we, Sarah?
Yep.
Yeah, and
their first ever show.
Yeah, that's true.
Really?
Yeah,
another exclusive, another Metalbrew exclusive,
and Earn as well.
As well. Their first gig.
Yeah,
their first gig was Metalbrew.
So yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
Fuck you, James Cook.
That's the drummer.
He's our old school friend who now drums in there.
Yeah,
he used to drum with Firestorm. But
he
was having nothing about coming back to Metalbrew. So I'm going to say again, fuck you, James Cook.
He can take it. I'm sure he's doing very well with them. But yeah, then like there were a couple of other bands from Bloodstock that I really, really liked, that I would at least sort of either reach out or hope that they would consider. One was off the back of your Bloodstock preview. You mentioned Moon Reaper, and I was surprised you didn't mention them in your reflection. I guess no one got the chance to go see them or whatever.
I did see a bit of Moon Reaper. Yeah, they were good.
They were good. Yeah. I don't know. They're quite different. Like they obviously there's the black metal and there's death metal, almost deathcore in there. But it's a distinctive sound, and it was very, very cool to see live. And the way I see it is Metalbrew has at least one band that's sort of approaching the extreme spectrum, and I think they'd be a really cool new modern fit, or they're a band of a similar ilk. Other bands that were at Bloodstock that I thought were potentials. You mentioned them was Burner. They'd be great. They're London based. That good mix of sort of like metalcore, but then there's grindcore elements. The aggression's really intense. I mean, they put a good show on anywhere, but I think they'd be.
We were so London based. That's kind of mad.
Yeah, we were this year. I mean, the thing is, once you move out of London, you've also got to then consider the travel and then potentially the accommodation costs as well. Which
of course, right.
A festival as small of us, that as small as us, that's something you've really got to consider.
Yeah, because you might as well put the money into the fee for a London band.
Yeah,
as opposed to putting the money into
someone
accommodation.
That makes sense. The bigger pool.
And it was nice because we were, it felt very London based again, whereas it felt pretty rootsy, even though like I said, it was a bunch of people who were there their first time they've ever been to Metalbrew. It was like a reintroduction to Metalbrew, but to me it kind of re-established us as a London metal fest.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then another band that I just heard them by chance. I was queuing up to get some cider, and they were playing out of the wherever it is. I think it's the New Blood stage.
Yeah.
Stone Soup, who again you mentioned.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Stone Soup. Yeah, one of our favourite bands that we've discovered recently. Really, really cool.
Never heard of them before. Yeah,
no, me neither.
Speak to them about them yet. But I was just queuing up, and I was like, I'm going to go check them out. And I've got like the last 2 or 3 songs. I was like, this is really, really cool, and also very, very much like Metalbrew, like that good time, hard rocking. Great energy live as well. So
great performers. I mean, they you could see they were putting a lot into that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were really, really going for it, and I just saw this and thought, if they played Metalbrew, that would be lovely. And then another band that you didn't mention, and my friend knew about them, I'd never heard of them, was Crowley. I don't know if anyone saw them.
I didn't catch them. No.
It's 2 or 3 female musicians, and then I think it's a male drummer, and like her vocals are incredible, and it's like that really nice sort of again, sort of maybe proto metal, classic rock type sound, really, really big sound. And I think they're from Scotland, which, raises some questions, but they were really, really good. I've not listened to them on record, but they're probably worth.
Raises some questions.
It's a long old journey, isn't it?
I'm assuming you mean logistical questions.
Thank you very much.
I knew what you meant.
Racist twat.
Yeah. Just like to apologise.
Savages from north of the wall.
Apologise to our Scottish listeners.
Nothing but love for the Scottish people.
Hang on, there's comments coming through as well here. Would a band like
No. This it's not to be read out, I don't think.
Well, I've just read it out because I'm going to repeat again. James Cook won't ever help us.
Okay. Sorry. That all I just meant was, like, logistically, because they're a relatively new band, is it something that we could muster together? But I think they would go down a treat. And they're well. I don't know what they've got recorded, but they're well worth checking out. So they were like my pull throughs from Metalbrew. That, and again, a band that you big up a lot is Flame Bearer. And when I saw them playing with Margarita Witch Cult, I was quite taken to them. I think they're definitely a band that's worth.
And they definitely fit your whole ethos. They're a proper party band, and we've got plenty of ideas in that respect. Some of the other more like extreme bands that I was thinking as well was I don't know if you've heard of any of these guys, but Vaticinal Rights. I don't know. I've seen the name banded, but I don't think I've ever heard them. But
very, very good old school death metal. I think they're London based, which is like a good factor for us to consider. Very, very heavy, very, very good. De Profundis as well, who kind of like do like this sort of vaguely tech death, but still.
We saw them.
We saw them with Anal Nathrak and Sai, wasn't it?
Yeah. Were they good?
They were. I think we only caught like the last sort of song or so, but from what I remember, they were pretty good. But not being familiar with them, it's hard to know, isn't it, with death metal?
No, they like the more I listened to them, I was really, really like their last album, 2022. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but was really, really impressive. And then another band, which I'm pretty sure is London based. I was pushing for it this year, but it didn't happen. I don't know. Maybe they're a little bit hard to communicate with. But a band called The Bleeding, who again,
we booked them. They're really, really good guys, and fucking phenomenal live band. It's just the vocalist was just unbelievable. He's like breath control, getting like Bible's lengths of lyrics into this like 3-minute song was just incredible.
Yeah, that's exactly how they do it. It's almost like Black Dahlia style, right? That Monocrator album, that was my entry point. I was like, this is fucking wicked.
Phenomenal. Yeah, they went down to Storm here in Chelmsford. We booked them, and
how did the show go in Chelmsford? Because that was
The same day as Metalbrew, right?
Yeah, we had the London Metal Coalition thing. I mean, it's height of summer. There wasn't a lot of people around, but we had a huge amount of fun, and that was the main thing. We had enough people in the bar to make it a good night, and the bands all enjoyed it, and the reputation up is sort of, growing pretty quick. So that's what matters really. So I learned from that though that we won't do another show like that within that kind of like middle of July to end of August kind of period, because it's either festivals or people on holiday, isn't it?
That's where our generator came from, Chelmsford.
What a claim.
They wanted like 500 quid delivery, so I had to just ask my cousin who's got a tow bar to drive up. So
but
we
like,
drove up and it was a beast of a generator.
Yeah, coming back to something you were saying the last time we were on, it would be nice if we could kind of coordinate it where we are on different weekends. One, so we could go to each other's thing, but also that way we can hopefully sort of promote each other's event.
Well, either way, you guys have to be at Metal next year.
Yeah.
We're coming.
Gotta be there.
Yeah, 100%. We're coming. It's look, it's a field. There's alcohol and there's metal. It's like it's that's all we kind of need in the summer, really.
It is.
And it's in London, so it's we'll be there. It would have been there this year if it wasn't for that. So
yeah, and it'd be really nice if we could likewise come down to the event you put on, because
come down. It's we've got September. We've got one in December. We've got a couple planned for next year already.
Okay.
So, and hopefully we'll get a good sort of 8 to 10 shows in next year. So there'll be plenty of opportunity to come up. It's
that's awesome.
It's going. It's good.
Yeah, I'm glad you're getting that momentum going. That's really, really cool.
I must admit, it feels like a slog sometimes, but then on the night when people do start to turn up, it does feel good. It's like, all right, the build up to it, I kind of think, there's not enough people are going to turn up. And then on the night, you got a good atmosphere and a few more people rock up on the door and things. And then your confidence starts to build a bit more then. So I'm learning, sort of show by show, what to do. But it's so far so good. It's going pretty well. And the reputation's starting to get out there. And, we had a couple of bands that have reached out to us that want to play. So that's I can only take that as a positive, really.
Yeah, and we'll definitely shout out your shit. Like when you've got shit to shout out, like let us know and we'll
please do. It'd be massively appreciated. And thanks for buying a t-shirt as well.
Yeah, no, I was repping that at Bloodstock.
I have to publicly apologize to you for not recognizing you straight away. The t-shirt was pointed out and we was like, shit, like someone's wearing like In the Abyss merch. This is fantastic. So chased you through the crowd, just only seeing the t-shirt. I'm literally like, follow the t-shirt. Anyway, and then lo and behold, there you were. But I was still kind of like buzzing off the idea that someone out there was repping the merch.
Yeah,
we used to do that with Metalbrew shirts as well. I remember being at shows and like trying to get selfies with the back of someone's shirt and hoping they won't see me taking a photo of them.
Right. Yeah. But anyway, so I've grabbed Chris and I'm just saying, let's do a photo together. And he's like, it's me.
Yeah.
and then the penny dropped.
Yeah. But I mean, I was wearing my In the Abyss t-shirt on Metalbrew Day as well, just to try and get a little bit of.
That's quite. I appreciate that. That's the stuff. That kind of thing. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I really appreciate what you're doing. Really trying to big up the underground metal scene, and it's the thing that we all love.
Yeah.
And I respect what you're doing, and I hope that even if one person's like, "What's that about?" that will sort of like lead to a little bit more interest. And
and that's it. And without the underground, you've got nothing. It's got to come from somewhere, isn't it? So it's all very well. Bloodstock is great. We've been going for a few years. It's always a wicked weekend and download all these big events, but there's loads of these DIY events and these sort of indoor festivals and things like that are popping up all over the place. And there's some gems as well out there. So it's worth doing. It's not all about the big events. Some people are putting an awful lot of work into these shows.
We should be there. Like,
we had a t-shirt site in Texas as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So worldwide.
One of my mates that I know from when I was working in Korea, is a professional musician. His name's Anthony Garcia, and he's a phenomenal musician. He's a guitar player, piano player, writes all his own stuff. And he's been like keeping an eye on the podcast. And I just out of the blue popped up on Facebook. He did a really big concert in Austin, in Texas, and he's just there with his in the Abyss t-shirt. And I was like, that's fucking badass.
Yeah, that is really cool.
The underground is breaking free.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used to play on cruise ships, like he's a piano player, and he used to like troll the fucking guests, and they come up and go, "Excuse me, do you know Piano Man by Billy Joel?" He's like, "Nah, I've never heard of
it." So you're all done now, 2024. You've talked about 2025. What are you still learning now? So what more have you learned? Because some of the things that we heard in the previous episode when you were on was, going back to the early days, and we don't know what we're doing, but what have you learned from this year's event that you might do differently next year?
Oh, nothing. I'm still a student.
my takings from this year was we just fucking got lucky. I don't know what went so well. Maybe there should be some learnings.
The only thing that
my learning is that I'm gonna just speak to Sarah more, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout, actually. Sarah was involved this year, but not as much as previous years. She has been the front runner, been very, very much in charge of things. And yeah, there is a lot of things that she can bring to the table going forward, because she was a bit more backseat than normal.
Can I just say, I think we've been best friends for 25 years, and that's possibly the first time you've ever complimented me.
Another Metalbrew exclusive.
And it's on recording.
Can I just clarify, if that came across as a compliment, it wasn't meant to.
But I think you make an important point, though, because that friendship, that cohesion, surely has got something to do with the way this keeps, you keep pulling it off, you keep pulling through, keep the momentum going.
Do you know what our lesson is?
Let me say this, Sarah. There was a really big moment this year when everything was overrunning and we had those fucking sound issues, and the Rockin' Boys were playing, and they were about to go into the set, which was going to be dedicated to my dad. And I was like, "You got to cut your set, guys. You got to cut your set." And Sarah just looked at me and she was like, "Shut the fuck up." Play their songs. And I was like, "Oh yeah."
This happened 3 times, didn't it?
Yeah,
you were like,
really,
cut.
Yeah, I was trying to cut everything left, right, and center, and Sarah was like, "What are you doing?"
I was like, "Stuart, fuck it. Let the music play." Yeah. I think the biggest lesson is that we just need to keep going. We've had a couple of breaks throughout our 20 years, and I think the key thing for us is to keep it going.
Momentum, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the key thing is, after 20 years, it still is beautiful, amazingly.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
I think that. Sorry, carry on.
The only other thing I was going to say, I don't think this is necessarily a lesson that we've learned this time round, but I think the other opportunity we've got this time round is, again, Jack did an incredible job in terms of the online promotion and stuff like that.
Big shout out to
yeah.
Davey's not here because
he was pivotal. But I think if we've got an earlier start, and if we can be a little bit more coordinated, if there are other ways that we can, basically going into Cannes, going into all the different London venues, do a little bit of flyering that way, doing a little bit of promotion that way, and just trying to draw people's interest through further promotion, that might help us to help expand in a way that the online method doesn't. I think that's another thing.
Have we got avenues of we could do more local gigs?
Sure, that's another thing we've always talked about, trying to have the Metalbrew and then have what we call mini brews, where we just have a couple of bands that continue representing the scene through pretty decent gigs of underground bands. Because
you've done something like that before, and was it at the Dome or
so
whatever it's called now?
Yeah, we did the brew before Christmas, and I think that was mostly because of COVID, and it was just an outdoor event was a bit too much. And then we did
the fuel show, right?
Yeah, we did a pre-show with the Grudge, Brawl, Purple Kong. That was at the Unicorn, the pub.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. So we have done stuff like that before, but as Chris said, we could definitely do more of it. And Jack really stepped it up this year. So yeah, hats off to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like obviously social media and everything's all very important in it, but you still can't beat good old school getting out there and flyering and all that kind of thing. And even like where Andy lives down in Margate, you got Margate Rock Festival, Margate Rock Fest, what's it called?
Margate Rock Festival.
Margate Rock Festival, yeah, that's it, simple as that.
That's what it says on the tin.
Yeah, they're going, the guys that are running that, I mean, the thing sold, they sold their first allocation of 500 tickets in about 3 weeks, but they're out sort of flyering and doing it old school, and it's
very limited amount of flyering we did. The thing that I found really, really fucking nice is everyone I seemed to give a flyer to would either have, well, we did very limited flyering, just in spaces where people would have done this. But honestly, everyone had either heard of Metalbrew or had been to Metalbrew. It was like, it was so validating giving these flyers out, and they were like, "Oh shit, if I've heard of this before."
Yeah, but it's great to remind,
stronger than you think.
Well, that's it, and it's great to remind people that you're still doing it, and on that point, another way of promoting the festival is just word of mouth, and if you continue to give people, because all the feedback just seems unanimously positive, apart from the neighbours, but forget them. Everyone's having a great time, and that's credit to you because you're putting that on, and you're giving that to the people, and they're only going to go and tell their mates and tell their friends and just talk about Metalbrew. So
yeah, fingers crossed. And I'd also like to say this, that honestly, we couldn't hope for a better crowd. Every time it happens, I'm always taken aback, like whether it's people I know well or all these new people that I encounter, and everyone's just so good to each other, and the feeling, like the atmosphere is nothing but just joyous celebration of metal. And it's so great that the people that come down just do what they can to make it such a good day.
Every year we're always like, have we got a first aid kit? Does anyone know how to deal with an issue if it comes up? And luckily nothing comes up.
Yeah, and yeah, people just are just happy to look after each other, celebrate each other. I mean, my mate took all these photos of me. There's this guy, and I'm sure he's been in Metalbrew before, so I'm sorry if I should know your name. Who's just basically, he's picked me up and he's throwing me around all over the place. Next thing I know, he's doing a fireman's lift. I'm over his back. He's throwing me all over the place. And it's like, he's having a great time. I'm having a great time, I assume. And it's like, it's just this atmosphere where people could just get their rocks off and have a fucking time. Yeah, everyone's invited. If you want to pick me up and throw me about,
that's
I'm happy
valid.
to do
That's
it.
valid.
Yeah.
Be careful. Yeah, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, this is all a bit cliched, but the points you make about everyone just getting together and celebrating heavy metal, and that's what it's all about. And that's what I think Bloodstock has still got it. It's still small enough to be able to hold that. And from the outside, it doesn't make sense to people, does it? The neighbours that complain about the noise, it's not music, all of that kind of stuff. There's something about the music that we love that's just got that unity amongst people. You get all these people in a field that don't know each other, and within a couple of hours they could be best friends, and it's all because they love metal, and that's such a wonderful thing. And you guys have got that in droves.
Yeah,
you really have. So fair play to you.
Honestly, that's literally what is amazing to us, is that 20 years after, we did this purely through passion 20 years ago. We had no idea, luckily we had the right connections or whatever. We had mates in bands and it was pure passion 20 years ago, and somehow 20 years on we still go there and set this shit up and have as many people who want to help out, and as many people who want to tell us how wicked it was, and
it is a special thing. It's cool. It really is.
It is, and long may it continue. And you sound like you're pretty confident about next year, and who knows from there on in. We're not, we're all roughly of a similar age, I would say, and we've all still got life left in us yet, haven't we? So
yeah.
Keep it going.
Honestly, a big thing about Metalbrew for me is there's no ambition for this to be some big thing. There's no ambition to
become the next Bloodstock or whatever.
The next stage, 500 people is like a next level thing where you need a team.
It sounds to me like it's, there's no ambition for it to be a big thing, but you do have ambitions about it being a good thing.
I agree.
That's
I agree with that.
Yeah, keep it. Yeah, it's like being at a level where it still feels intimate, but people want to come, don't you? You've got that reputation that it's fucking Metalbrew. We're going to Metalbrew, and You know, and to be fair to you, your ticket price is reasonable as well. I think you've got that in your pocket. It'd be quite easy to charge 50, 60 quid for what you do, you know, 60, 70, even up further than that. So that's important as well. It's getting that balance right.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah.
We don't want to charge people. Yeah.
No, yeah, we want to make it something that everyone feels is accessible. Like Jack said on the last one, even at 30 quid, people were complaining about the prices, which seems absolutely mind-blowing to me. I mean, especially considering the way that ticket prices for gigs have gone up.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, we're doing what, 8 bands, like 8 proper quality bands. 9 bands. And, you know, and yet, you know, for what is a more than reasonable price. I mean, what are you paying? £3, £4 a band?
Yeah, it's ludicrous.
Calm your shit down. Yeah. And, you know, and we will always keep it that way, because ultimately that's what it's about, is creating this opportunity for people to come down and just celebrate metal in the open air. Again, there's something to be said about an outside stage in a London festival.
This is the mad thing. Did you hear about this?
No, what's this?
People turning up and not realizing it was an outdoor metal festival. Yeah, I heard that a lot. That people, I guess we weren't very good at promoting this as an outdoor metal festival.
Yeah, but
that's a good point. Because when you see it as
and
you see it as rugby club, you think, oh, it's in the rugby club kind of thing. And that, I thought the same thing, to be fair.
But I think that's more to do with the fact that, you know, we've had 2 Metalbrews, the last ones, that weren't outdoors.
You
know, generally they're outdoors, but we had one that was indoors, and then we obviously had the one that was at the Dome. So I think people thought that, you know, that's what they were possibly going to get.
Yeah, true. That's probably like, that's the last 5 years experience of people's Metalbrew, maybe even longer than that. But yeah, it's
indoors.
Yeah, but it's an outdoor festival.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah,
we should be better at saying this is an outdoor fucking metal festival. We used to be really good at saying that.
Well, you're not going to start calling it Metalbrew open air, then you're not going to go down that route. It's been a whole lot of fun. It was last time you guys came on this, and we're so pleased for you that it went well, and you're all on a high, and you're all looking forward to next year. And you know,
and we want to see you there next year.
Yeah, we'll be there. Like I said, a field, metal, beer. We'll be there 100%. So yeah, guys, you know, good luck with it all. We will be talking again 100%. And yeah, long live Metalbrew. As far as I'm concerned, it's a great thing.
Amen to that.
Long live in the abyss, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so.
Thank you.
Fuck me, if we're still here talking in 20 years' time, I'll be 60. Fuck me, I'll be almost retired. Great.
Listen, if the singer from Leafhound can turn up and do a gig at 70, you know,
anything's possible.
There's time for all of us.
In it, yeah, wicked. Right, that's it for this week. Another great. I don't know. I keep trying to think like, what are we doing next week? What are we doing next week? And I always forget. So remind me what we're doing next week.
I've forgotten.
No idea. You know what we have next week? We've got Adam from Barbarian Hermit on next week. So yeah, there you go. That's what we're doing next week. So tune in for that.
Excellent.
Until that point, thanks for listening. Thanks to Metalbrew.
Thanks
for coming on once again. And as ever, stay metal. See you next week.
Yeah.
Boom.